everyone? Oh, cool.
I think that everybody's
Is everyone here? Yep. All right, I guess we can get started then.
Woo.
Hello all, we are Connect Advertising and we created a campaign for the Guadalupe River Park. Besides me, Victoria Lopez, the group consists of Lauren Z, Patrick Mata, Dustin Yu, and Ian Velasquez. So for a brief introduction, I, Victoria Lopez, once again, served as the account manager for the group, which meant I put my advertising degree to use by meeting with Jason Su, a guy working for Guadalupe River Park, to go over what we wanted to accomplish with the campaign. And with the team, I worked with them to figure out how we could best fulfill the goals we had for the campaign, as well as our own objectives with it.
Hello, my name is Patrick Mata, and with my role as account planner, I took careful measures in researching about the public's perception of the park and understanding the culture behind its long history.
Hello, my name is Lauren Z, and I'm an advertising and graphic design major. And I am part of the creative team for this campaign. I helped brainstorm ideas for the campaign as well as develop the park's poster ads, as well as worked on the app concept.
Hey guys, I'm Dustin. I'm also part of the creative team. I am a graphic design major and advertising is my minor. So, this class has helped me combine the two and make the use of both of my skills.
Hello, my name is Ian Velasquez. I'm a graduating senior advertising major, and I helped design the creative side of this project.
All right, so the first thing we did when we were looking into the park was I took a research visit to both discuss things with Jason Su and take some reference photos on a tour we took of the park. That also gave me a good idea of some of the services offered by the park, as well as some of the iconography and existing signage they have. So what we also learned about the park from that visit was that it is the Bay Area's only urban river, and that Jason wanted that advertised in order to create something that sets it apart from other parks in the area, as well as the fact that it has a long history within San Jose, 25 years, meaning it is safe to say that many residents actually did grow up alongside it. We also had a lot of it emphasized that it was a public space for public good, meaning it Is the screen not sharing?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. The screen is still on the first slide. That's why I was kind of confused.
Okay, let me stop the share and share it again maybe, and that'll help.
If you put it into presentation mode, Victoria, then it should move.
Oh.
There we go, yeah.
Okay, so it's moving now, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, about the park. Public space for the public good, providing tours for students, as well as many trails and other attractions for local residents to explore. Also during the meeting, we went over some of his goals for the campaign, and one thing he emphasized to us was that he wanted to kind of refresh the park's image in order to maintain its position as a community leader. And by that, he meant he wanted something kind of new, maybe an updated logo and some new signage, but also something that would still be familiar to avoid alienating people who, again, grew up alongside the park and have been going to it for many, many years. As far as that signage goes, the park does require more physical things. That includes signage, things like the maps that you saw in the previous slides, and all of this for a budget of potentially 10 to 20K, though that was not set in stone during that initial meeting. That was good news to us since it did give us some wiggle room and give us some kind of freedom for what we could accomplish with our campaign. We also, early in these stages, wanted to do a brand audit just to make sure we knew exactly where we were and our position in the market and what exactly we wanted to accomplish with this brand. So our primary value proposition was the unique experience of having these trails and nature so close to the city, meaning a 10-minute walk away from your workplace could mean that you could find yourself right next to the river or on a trail. The strengths were that it is, again, the only river of its kind in the area, which gives it a huge advantage over other parks, as well as its long history, meaning it has that nostalgia factor. As far as weaknesses go, I did say that the park potentially has a poor reputation, since I do remember growing up as a local of the area and hearing the park's name often being used synonymously with trash or not being a safe area to go on walks. It also was possibly not popular with young people, and I put possibly there since I definitely haven't heard much talk about it with people my own age. When I went on hikes for the trail or any bike rides or anything, it was usually with family members. So older people who knew of the park and had known of it since they were living there for much longer than I had been alive. So with all that in mind, we were assigned to take to the streets, and by that I mean the hallways of our campus, and do a few interviews with people to find out their personal impressions of the park and the other thoughts on how we could promote it.
Right, you're right.
But you know, this part right here is really cool. I was actually sitting right here the other day.
Were you on the river?
Yeah, I was sitting right on this sloped area.
Yeah, so you have visited the park.
I have visited
Nice.
the park.
I'm Juno. I'm a first year and I'm an environmental science major.
My name is Naran Puddle. I'm a fourth year and my major is public health.
My name is Perla Hernandez. I'm a third year public relations major.
My name is Umang Varma. I'm an industrial design student.
Why haven't you ever visited Guadalupe River Park?
There hasn't really been the development that I've wanted to see within the park that really pushed me to go and
So what would intrigue you to go to come visit this park?
I feel a lot more of a communal aspect to the park, so barbecues or anything, just so me and a group of friends can go and have a good time.
Yeah. And have you heard of Guadalupe River Park?
I have heard of it, yes.
Have you been to it?
No, I have not.
And what's the reason behind that?
Just not really I don't really feel like there's a reason for me to go.
Do you know about Guadalupe River Park? Yes, I think.
How did you hear about it?
Google Maps most of the time.
I've actually lived here almost my whole life.
And you've never heard of it or even been to it?
I don't know if I've been to it, but I've definitely never heard of it.
Wow.
What is your way of finding out? Social media?
Honestly, just through word of mouth.
Yeah.
Say what would intrigue you? Say there was anything in particular that would intrigue you?
Maybe I know there's a lot of cleanups there. So maybe if I was to attend a type of environmental cleanup, something like that.
If let's say you did want to go outside and do something outdoorsy, what would intrigue you to go visit Guadalupe River Park?
Just if there's space and cleanliness and stuff like that.
Thank you to Patrick for editing that, by the way. So some things that popped out to us after viewing that video was that there was a general lack of awareness of the park. So that did kind of confirm my suspicions about how it either lacks a reputation or has a bad reputation among my peers. And there were also several people who mentioned wanting a communal aspect to the park. So that meant the various events or attractions it has to offer. And one thing that we picked up on also from those interviews was that those who had heard of the park, even they often hadn't visited it. So with all that in mind, we wanted to address the lack of awareness of the park to create more buzz about what it has to offer and its trails and the bike rides and even the cleanups that she mentioned. And for that, we wanted to create some good word of mouth, since especially in a large city that still has a very tight-knit community, that would be essential in getting people interested in the park again. We also wanted to restore the image of the park as being something interesting and worth visiting. So by that we mean having it be known for more than just litter cleanups. We also had to establish an audience at this phase. And after the meeting with Jason Su, he himself did note to me that they were going for more of a family audience as well as locals. So by that we mean office workers as well as students, people who provide a lot of foot traffic around downtown. So for a communication strategy, we decided to go with what Jason Su specifically mentioned and have some new signage, imagery to update the image and give it a refresher. With that in mind, we wanted to create bus stop and VTA ads, sort of thing that would already attract a lot of people who are commuting through the city, commuting for work, coming for school from another city, as well as people walking through downtown, say just to grab lunch or meet a friend for something, to be able to pass by the sign and get a lot of eyes on our advertising work. We also saw from the mention of Google Maps the potential for technology integration, as while the park does have a working website, we noticed that it does not have an app, which we felt could be really essential to getting more people to view the park as modern. So with all that in mind, we created a guiding statement as follows. With this campaign, we hope to modernize the public's image of the Guadalupe River Park while never forgetting the park's long history. As the Bay Area's only urban river, we want locals to know that the river and the fast-paced city life of work and school can coexist mere minutes away from each other. Using new signage, more dynamic logo, and an emphasis on nature alongside the man-made, we want to reestablish the park in people's minds as a cherished landmark of the city and as a public space for public good. Keeping all this in mind, that is how we decided to approach our new iconography, and here's Dustin on what we wanted to do with the signage.
Thanks, Victoria. Yeah, so what you guys are looking at are my two initial sketches for the new signage, not Guadalupe River Park's new modern logo, but rather just the signage that you'd see around the park. And what I was really trying to do with this was to, create a modern take on a classic landmark. And if you go to the next slide, actually, Victoria, I can kind of emphasize on that. Yeah. So the typeface that I chose was kind of an Art Deco typeface. To me, I felt that kind of spoke to the target audience, which is like people who wanted to still be able to maintain like the classic feel and like the vintage feel of Guadalupe River Park while still, creating something that's modern. And for me, something that was modern and spoke to me was a sans serif font, something that was round, something that had just like a very simple image. So I decided to use the image of a salmon because salmon are they are local to Guadalupe River. And if you go on to the next slide, Victoria, I can talk about the new actual GRP logo. So with this logo, I wanted to, kind of create a cultural shift, because Guadalupe River Park is San Jose's greatest unique asset, and it does connect residents, businesses, and environment together. So what I was really trying to do with this logo was to capture that, resident, business, and environment aspect of it. So the environment aspect of it comes in with the color green. I wanted to keep it monochromatic, just to keep it very simple and clean, I guess, just to reiterate. And that small cityscape that you see is like an icon version that I created of San Jose cityscape. And that white negative space that you see running through the circle is representative and symbolic of the actual river itself. Again, just kind of reiterating that there is nature within this urban environment. And I also felt that this type of logo, which is clean like this, would look good in different scales. And I also feel like it speaks to potential visitors, social investors, and community partners, because it does have that urban look to it that does kind of have that, Google-esque, Apple-esque type of cleanliness. That's what I was kind of going for.
Lauren, your mic isn't on.
Sorry. These are originally logo ideas for the park, but in this part of the process, I really wanted to focus on the duality of the park and the city. I did a lot of experimenting with color type and shape and tried to choose colors that stand out, since most people said they miss the signage when they're walking through the park. If Victoria goes to the next slide. On this portion of the logos, I decided to pull inspiration when I was actually walking through the park one day. A family of 3 and their dog was playing, and I thought it depicted the park perfectly, since it calls together the community and shows that they're in a park, but reminds us that they're within the walls of the city. We decided against these logos since we wanted to go with the more neutral colors and simple but familiar design. However, Victoria really liked the concept and used it in the posters as well for the campaign.
And speaking of, here are some of the poster designs we had for the VTAs and the bus stops. So as far as the station designs go, we wanted to go with something that would match the environment they're in. So like downtown or uptown or anything. So with that in mind, I wanted to go with something kind of clean and sleek and modern and minimalist to match the city's aesthetic, as well as to go for a kind of Apple-ish technology aesthetic. So that also carried into our choice of taglines. We went for a few things that connects technology with nature. So things like environmentally efficient. And take a 30-minute vacation on this side here is again an allusion to the fact that the park has such close proximity to the city. I really wanted to use, as Lauren mentioned, her imagery here of the nature and the man-made being alongside each other. I also wanted to go for a mostly blank poster to really give that image more impact, which is also the reason why I added the logo so large here. That said, after a series of critiques from John, he mentioned that I might want to fill the blank space better with some text and also shrink down the logo, just to give the poster better balance, which is also the reason why he suggested this river to create more divide between the city and the other forest silhouette. The final poster designs we did were done with help from Lauren to create this gradient, just to add more visual interest to the cityscape and to add some color to the poster of the green versus the silver of the city. I also spinned out the river a bit, and we ended up swapping out some of the text in a later version. For the final tagline, we ended up going with "The river flows in you," which was a suggestion by Ian and one that John really liked, and one that we felt did have some good impact, and really tied in the campaign with tying the river to the city's residents, and that the history of the park is inextricably linked with San Jose itself. We also added something to guide the eye to the text more and give people more incentive to read by bolding the first and last sentences of the text. Lauren, your mic is off again.
Sorry again. When creating our campaign, I decided that we should create a new app for the park since it's a good way to modernize and better inform people of the park and all the services it has. On the app, I created the formatting as well as the icons and matched the color palette to the one of our campaign. I tried to maintain the ease of access by creating clear tabs and color coordination between the tabs and the respective landing pages. For the app, I worked on the About page, which talks about our campaign, highlighting the park being right in the downtown of San Jose, and creates a call to action for the park, saying that the park is the place to make your space, as well as using our headline and tagline, San Jose, the river flows in you, and discover what's in your backyard. I also worked on the maps page for the park, for the app, which shows the map of the park and the location of the services the park has. So if Victoria goes through the slides, you can see those other pages.
And now here's Ian to go over some more sections of the app that he helps create.
Collaborating with my teammate Lauren, I helped design this portion of the project. I actually took some visuals from the website to give the audience a better understanding of what the park looks like if they've never heard of it. We took the color green because the park was very iconic with its scenery, and we wanted to match that within the app and give that vibe. I worked on the history tab, and if you click on the specific history tab, it takes you to a page where it gives you a brief description of the park itself and how it's developed over the years. There's also a park map which brings you to the different places that I chose out for the park itself that brought out an iconic impression based off its past experience of its history, such as the Remembering Agriculture piece, which is by Tony May, which helped raise awareness of the park itself because it was very known for its agriculture. The second place was the Veterans Memorial, which was very iconic because we wanted to remember the veterans that had wars that were placed in that area back in the past. And the Weaver's Gift is the third place, which helped raise awareness of the original Indians that owned the land before it was known to become the Guadalupe River Park. We have several different functions of the app itself, such as the home button, which brings you back to the home tab, the services button that brings you back to all the places that the park has, like I discussed, and the services button that brings you back to what the park has. And the phone button, it lets you actually call someone to help you guide guide the locals throughout the park if they get lost.
And now here's Patrick with our conclusion and why we think this campaign would work for the park.
So with this campaign, the big picture that we had in mind is to modernize the public's image of Guadalupe Park. As the Bay Area's only urban river, we want locals to experience the coexistence between nature and city life. Using new signage, a dynamic logo, and an emphasis on nature, we want to reestablish the park as a cherished landmark to the minds of the locals as well as new visitors for San Jose.
Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, team. If you could stop screen sharing now, Victoria, we'll open it up for questions.
I do want to say I like how you guys each showed your thinking in how you approach the problem and then develop a solution for it, whether it be in the logo, whether it be in the app. I thought that was really interesting way to do your presentation. Looking at the book and seeing it, but then having a presentation that kind of really justified why you were going where you were going. I think that was very unique and good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was interested in some of the lines and some of the text, and congratulations, by the way. I thought this was very well done. Things like, take a 30-minute vacation, I thought was interesting. The river flows in you was also interesting. Did you get any chance to evaluate these with your perceived target audience? Was that opportunity available, or pandemic just made it impossible?
Not exactly. Admittedly, that did play a factor, since normally I would have liked to maybe show this to a few friends and chat with them in person about it, since I feel like doing it through text or Discord or anything kind of would limit the discussion a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So it was mostly talking amongst ourselves and discussing our own reactions to the various taglines and iconography and things like that.
But we did try to keep in mind and try to relate to it as much as we could, so that we could have a pretty good understanding of what our target audience would want in terms of copy.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the river that divide between the forest and the city. That's very unique, very, very nice. Simple. I think that the key for a good message is simplicity, so you catch the attention right away. Did you guys figure out one of the big issues that we have in the Bay Area about homeless? And I believe that area is full of homeless. Do you guys think about how you guys can solve this before promoting the area?
That was something we discussed with Jason, and he did mention that the park is taking some steps to address it in a humane way, and he wanted to emphasize that homeless people are still part of our community and are still people. But it also wasn't something we necessarily wanted to address in the campaign, since it is a very complicated issue, and I feel it wouldn't really be doing it justice to be trying to fit it in to a paragraph or a line.
Mm-hmm. So try to avoid that for now, because
Yes.
it's a reality that I believe to engage the community and to bring the community to be part of this area, we need to address that too, right?
Yes. We just felt that for this particular campaign, it wouldn't necessarily be a super appropriate time to be doing so. And that if it's something that the park does want to address, it would probably need an entire campaign dedicated just to that. Since, as I said, it's a very complicated issue. And we wanted to give it the respect it deserves.
Okay.
I have a question for the team, and thank you very much for your hard work on the campaign. Good job. I'm curious because the parts of the river park are located almost immediately adjacent or across the street from Adobe. And a number of your student interviewees mentioned that the reason why they do things is, word of mouth, or they do things with their friends. So I'm wondering if you thought about tech partnerships or just, going on a walk during lunch, or if any of those ideas kind of came up in your campaign development, and if you think that might be an opportunity to get more people to go to the river, as a group, and also engage with a tech partner.
I didn't think specifically about a tech partner, but that definitely was something we kept in mind throughout the campaign, of the tech worker and the whole technology and nature thing existing so close to each other. But it definitely would have been a good idea, yeah.
Victoria, just to kind of build off what you were just saying, I think for us addressing the tech people pretty much, or like the tech companies in the area, like Adobe, was in the form of our signage and logo, actually, because obviously there wasn't anything direct to them in terms of copy that was telling them to check out the park right outside their building. But I was with like my logo, my intention was to capture the attention of those people who do work in like these tech startups and these tech companies, because for them, like, simplicity does catch their eye, and like things that are very cleanly laid out also catch their eye. So that's kind of what I was going for with the logo. I was kind of hoping to catch their attention and then hopefully draw them in to like do some more research, I guess. And then they'll find out that, oh, hey, I work at Adobe and Guadalupe River Park is across the street,
I just mentioned this because my kid's dentist is in Cupertino, which is like passing right by the Apple headquarters, and the Apple people are always like walking around and having meetings like at the same time, carrying their laptops, crossing the street, things like that. So I imagine similar things are going on at Adobe, and in San Jose, you see people constantly, walking, like walking meetings. So, and it happens at San Jose State too. So it's just an idea. I was wondering if you guys thought about it. Thank you.
That's a good idea. This can open also for the commuting people. It's a nice area that you can commute from one place to another place in San Jose. So through bicycles or walking. So also you can emphasize that is a great alternative for people that can use this river path to arrive to their regular work.
Yes, that was definitely a big one that was brought up by Jason, that you could bike to work even, or there's a path that actually goes right past the airport. So the possibilities are endless.
I have a comment on your media. I think you chose good media. I think the bus and bench and so on. And then I see it's Snapchat. I know you didn't talk about it in your presentation here, but it's in the leave behind. Did you look at other forms of media beyond that? Beyond those, I know your budget was very small, but being on Facebook or social media kinds of things.
There does exist some presence of the park on other social media. For example, there's a Yelp page for it and everything. As far as other social media like Facebook or say a Snapchat, I'm mostly thinking that since it's aimed at families and that's very young children who are, I would hope, not on TikTok, we thought it might be a better idea to go for the more general thing to reach out, which is a very family-friendly app where we can completely curate the content and make sure that there is no F-bomb to be seen, or also that the content would be created by the park and not by, say, some user creating its own message that we might not necessarily want kids to be exposed to.
Just to build off of what Victoria has said, the reason why we really focused on Snapchat was because we really
on an app, you mean?
Yeah, the app for Snapchat, we wanted to be more interactive with our
Not
audience.
specifically for Snapchat, it's its own app.
I'm talking about the filters for. Can you reiterate the question, Tim, just to make sure I had the.
Yeah, I see Snapchat. I think that makes sense. And I think that the bus and the bench and all that stuff too for the community. I was just wondering about, other forms of media and social media. And I think Victoria's answered that, in that you would want to be very careful and keep it towards a very family-oriented kind of situation. So.
Okay, well, thank you guys. You rose to the challenge. and you got out the other side. And now we're going to keep you locked in your rooms until 11:45. I'm going to take the rest of the panel over to the next one. And so you can just hang around in the room, chat to each other, that kind of thing, and just bide your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Can't wait for that Blue Cow Award. Am I right, guys?
Ha.
I'm going to change rooms.
Literally.